Hey guys, Brian here with Nightstick. In this video, we're going to go over how to upgrade your Mossberg, Persuader, or Maverick 88 that includes a integrated pump handle with action bars to the action tube assembly and the necessary castle nuts. Part numbers will be in the description below in this video. Once those are upgraded onto your shotgun, you can then install our SFL shotgun forend light. All right, first step with modifying any firearms, we're first going to ensure that it's completely clear and unloaded. Next, we're going to remove the barrel from the receiver. Next, we're going to remove the trigger guard assembly. The trigger guard assembly is retained with a single pin, which can be knocked out with a non-marring hammer. Next, you're going to want to pivot the trigger guard assembly out from the rear and pull it out. Next, you're going to want to remove the two shell latches or shell stops. There's one on each side of the receiver that is retained and held in place by the trigger guard assembly. One will be on each side. They are uniquely designed, so they cannot go in backwards or on the opposite side, so don't worry about that. Each of them has a small detent pin that aligns with an indentation or a machined hole in the receiver to ensure that they're in proper alignment and location. Next, we're going to pull the pump handle back slightly in order to remove the bolt slide. The bolt slide should come straight up out of the machine slot in the receiver. Next, we're going to move the elevator out of the way slightly, and then we're going to pull forward, and the old pump handle assembly, the integrated pump handle assembly on the Persuaders and the Maverick 88s comes off. To reassemble with the new parts, you're going to take your new action tube assembly, slide it onto your feed tube. We're going to install the action tube bars through the front of the receiver. They are sprung loaded, so you'll need to ensure that they are pushed down slightly to line up with the machine slots in your receiver. Once that does occur, they will slide all the way to the rear of the receiver. Next, we're going to reinstall our bolt slide. You'll want to keep the bolt in the same position as it was when you removed the bolt slide. If you'd removed the bolt or the bolt did move, you want to ensure that the locking lug pawl is just behind the front edge of the cutout for the trigger guard. This allows the unlocking pawl from the slide to engage it and drop straight down in. You'll also want to line up your action tube bars with the cutouts on the slide. Once everything is lined up and drops in place, you'll see that the bolt slide engaged the action tube bars at the tabs and that the bolt slide is flush down against the bolt. To ensure that the action has been assembled properly, hold your thumb against the bolt slide and run the action to the rear and to the front. It should engage the shell lifter, and that confirms that everything was assembled properly. The next step is to reinstall your shell latches. This shell stop has a small indent on it. This side of the receiver has the large hole, so we know that this shell stop with the curved end is going to go onto the left side of the receiver. So we're going to lay it into its machine slot, and then we're going to ensure that the lug pushes through the receiver. These can be a little finicky, but there we go. Once it's in flush against the side of the receiver, hold that one in place. You can tilt the receiver to the other side, install the other shell latch with this small nub in the same location it came from in its machine slot. Once the right shell latch is into its machined slot, using your fingers to hold the two shell latches or shell stops against the inside of the receiver walls, you can reinstall your trigger guard assembly and it will drop down into the receiver. This retains the shell stops against the receiver wall and fix them in place. Next step is to install your retention pin. Ensure that it's flush on each side of the receiver. Once we have the trigger guard installed, we're going to want to make sure that the action is fully assembled properly. So we're going to use the unlatch, action unlatch, and we're going to cycle the action several times to ensure that it works fully. Now that we have that confirmed, we're going to take our SFL, we're going to slide it over the end of our new action tube assembly, and we're going to make sure that it's flush with the back of the action tube assembly. On this particular model of action tube assembly, we're going to use our optional spacer. It's for 7 3/4 inch action tube assembly, so we're going to slide it down over the feed tube and the action tube assembly and seat it inside the SFL. Last step is to take our new castle nut and install it on the end of the action tube. It has a fine thread, so it will take quite a few turns. But once we get it started, we're going to use our SFL installation and removal tool that has both Remington and Mossberg cutouts for the castle nut. So we're going to use the proper side, which will engage with the castle nut and allow us to thread it all the way down inside the SFL body itself. Once it's snug, we'll verify that the action still works without any binding. We'll unlock the action slightly and we'll reinstall our barrel. And that completes the installation of our SFL on a Mossberg 88 or Persuader, upgrading it with the optional accessory of the action tube assembly and the threaded castle nut that you'll get from the supplier you choose. The part numbers for both of those will be included in the descriptions on this video. Thanks for watching.